very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to yet another installment of NGPA's Up in the Air webinar series. My name is Brian Gambino, president of the NGPA, and this is about our 30th time together now as part of NGPA's totality of our webinars that we've been hosting since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic way back almost 2 years ago. Can you believe how long it's been? Thank you so much for those of you who've been joining us over the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, in staying connected in a time where we have been quite far apart. Of course, we see the ebbs and flows of getting back together, the new restrictions coming into place. But no matter what, NGPA is going to continue to be here with our Up in the Air webinar series to connect you to the bits and pieces of aviation that you want information about during these times. Up in the Air was a play on words for us here at NGPA, since so many things were up in the air, so to speak. And it was a replacement for our Industry Expo event, which we unfortunately had to cancel in 2021, much earlier this year. Over the past year and a half, it has been a way that we've kept the aviation community connected. We brought information regarding airlines, business aviation companies, university flight schools, mentorship in regards to financial planning in the pandemic. We had career placement type webinars that helped you figure out things you could do in the interim in the event your aviation career was put on hold for a slight time as we went through that major downturn. But thanks for sticking through with us. Thank you for attending these. We hope they've been helpful. And we're so glad that you've chosen to spend portions of your time with us here at NGPA. Speaking of NGPA, we are the worldwide LGBTQ aviation community. We have over 26 chapters here in the US and Canada, as well as 2 international chapters in Europe and Australia. And we represent the LGBTQ plus community. That includes not only those who identify as LGBTQ, but also the other large part of our community, which is our allies, those who are here to support the LGBTQ community in regards to equality across not only the world, but also within aviation. NGPA has grown actually over the pandemic from an organization of about 2,500 active members in February of 2020. We now represent almost 3,500, a gain of 1,000 members since the start of the pandemic, which truly shows that the interest and the want to be a part of our community is definitely high and definitely there. And we're so thankful for that support. If you are not yet a member of NGPA, we encourage you to check out more information about us. You can head to www.ngpa.org. In the top right portion, you can hit the Join Now button. Check out more about the organization, our product services, our support network, the NGPA family that we create here within our organization, and consider joining. $49 a year is our membership price. If you're part of a family, $79 for your entire family. We have other types of memberships as well, lifetime membership, student membership starting only at $20. Our NGPA scholarship program just announced yesterday the winners for our 2021 scholarship program, giving away $156,000 to aspiring aviation hopefuls this past year. Definitely an exciting time. Maybe some of you might have been a benefactor of the NGPA scholarship program in the past, but those of you who do join and become members, you support that program through your membership dollars to make the dreams and aspirations of aviators who are coming up in their career come true. So thank you so much for being a part of that. Again, ngpa.org is where you can find out more about the organization. As always here at our Up in the Air webinars, we're going to get to our main presenters of today. I know you don't want to hear from me continuously. Before I do introduce our friends at PSA Airlines today, I do want to tell you that as we're going through their presentation, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. If you have any questions that you would like answered that might not be covered, or something you want to know a little bit deeper regarding today's presentation and PSA, feel free to look at the bottom of your screen. You'll see the Q&A box. You can click on that Q&A box. You can type in questions into the Q&A area, and we will address those questions at the end of the presentation. So make sure you stick all the way through for that. If you have to jump off early, don't worry. We record all of these. This will be available on our website, ngpa.org/up in the air within the next 48 to 72 hours, as well as on our podcast channels on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Pandora Podcast. Just search NGPA Podcast, and you can take this with you on the go to make sure you catch up on all that information. So enough for me. Let's talk about our friends and platinum level sponsors, PSA Airlines. PSA has had a long history in the airline industry, which can be traced all the way back to 1979. The birth year for PSA, which was then called V. Neal Airlines, named after their original owner. In 1983, the airline was renamed Jetstream International Airlines after it took delivery of its first 2 Jetstream aircraft. Interestingly enough, PSA's current ICAO 3-letter code is JIA, or Juliet India Alpha, which traces back to when the airline was named Jetstream International Airlines. I found that to be a fun little fact. And for all you other av geeks out there, I hope you enjoyed as well. If you ever go track a PSA flight, you type into FlightAware JIA and the flight number. So that traces all the way back to 1983 when they were named Jetstream International Airlines. In 1986, Jetstream International Airlines was purchased by Piedmont Airlines. And a year after that, Piedmont was purchased by US Air, which led to Jetstream International operating as a US Airways Express carrier. In 1995, US Air renamed Jetstream International Airlines as PSA to protect the name Pacific Southwest Airlines, which was a namesake and company which US Air had purchased back in the late 1980s. Fast forward all the way to today, and PSA operates on behalf of now the new American Airlines under the American Eagle brand. PSA operates over 800 daily flights to 100 destinations with over 120 aircraft and 5,000 employees nationwide. Here we have today a great team to talk about PSA. Josh Maxwell, Christian Roper, Brian Staples, and who I'm going to hand it off to right now, the VP of Talent Management, Christine Wompack. So Christine, if you can join me, thank you so much for being here on behalf of PSA. Thank you for partnering with NGPA for all these years. And I'm going to hand it off to you. Let's hear more about PSA and your company. Thanks, Christine, for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Brian, so much. We are really happy and excited to be here. We've had an amazing partnership with you all the last about 5 years, continuing to spend time with your members. As you mentioned, we're part of the scholarships that were just extended recently. So hopefully for any of those that are joining today, you have the opportunity to be part of that, maybe a recipient. So our partnership with NGPA is definitely has been wonderful, and we are continuing on with additional engagement opportunities, which we are here today for Up in the Air series. Really looking forward to introducing the team that you have here today and to share a little bit more about who we are. Brian did an excellent job of just giving a little bit of background on where PSA came from and who we are today. And what we'll be talking about, which we'll give a little bit of background on how we've done through the pandemic and what we're up to, and especially this last year after a bit of recovery and on to much more flying. So we've got a great team today that I'd like to introduce before I start. Here we have Josh Maxwell, one of our most seasoned maintenance recruiters. Josh spends a lot of time out in the field working with our schools that we are partnered with and our other programs to ensure that we have the right talent coming into our maintenance organization. And next we have Christian Roper, our manager of pilot recruiting. Christian has been with us for nearly 4 years and has really had an expertise in not only pilot hiring, helping and creating and establishing our cadet program, and also recently has been leading the team through some of our really getting back to the volume of hiring, back to building a team, which has been an exciting opportunity and journey for us here in the last year. And also we have Brian Staples, our Director of Flight Training. We're excited to be working side by side again with Brian. Brian was a pilot with PSA, and he was in also a leadership role prior to his flow over to American, and he is back helping us with some opportunities that we have to further our training program here at PSA to make that an even more premier program to offer to our pilots that are joining us, and through all the opportunities that they get through the line to be a pilot here. So with that, I'm going to just share what we're going to cover today and talk through what is it that you should leave with. What is, besides who is PSA Airlines, we'll talk a lot about some of the impact that we've made and the progress that we've made with our diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. You hear and you see a lot about what a company is doing to impact strategy and development here. There's some really great things that we've done, and we're really excited to share. So Josh will be covering that with the group today. And then we'll also be talking about what type of hiring we have going on right now. What is it? What does that mean to you? And what are some of those programs that you can learn about with PSA and what we have, like I said, available if you have an interest in. And certainly along the way, like Brian mentioned, if you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A, and we'll certainly make sure we get to your questions and go through some additional dialogue. As we turn over to the next slide, just a little bit more background on who PSA Airlines is. So when you hear of PSA Airlines, I'll talk more about who we are now and today. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of American Airlines. So what that means is, if you're a passenger of PSA Airlines, when you operate or go onto your flight and it says operated by PSA, that means that you're flying an American Eagle plane, and that means that you're flying on a CRJ 700 or 900. And so with that, because we operate as a wholly owned subsidiary, we do have a leadership team and a group of pilots, mechanics, flight attendants, and all the support staff that supports the flight of all the flights and everything that goes behind the scenes with making sure that we get our passengers safely to their destinations on time. So again, like I said, we fly the Bombardier regional jet, the 700 and 900. We have a team of over 5,000 employees and operate more than 800 flights in more than 100 destinations. We do have a headquarters in Dayton, Ohio. We also have a really large staff in Charlotte, North Carolina, which where my team is, and then crew bases in Dayton, in Charlotte, as I mentioned, Philadelphia, and DCA. And then we have maintenance facilities also in the East Coast, and you can see those maintenance facilities here. So with that, I am going on to the next slide here. So beyond just who we are as an airline, you'll notice, and when you look around and see some of the social media content that PSA puts out, and just if you see out there what we represent, we talk a lot about, and not only do we talk about, our culture is really about who we are and how we do the work that we do to impact our customers day in, day out. And so we live and connect to our core values and key characteristics along the way. And with those, you'll notice and you'll recognize, even with Josh, Christian, and Brian, that a lot of the work that we do is really around showing up as driven, reliable, and caring professionals. And that's something in our culture that we're very proud of, and we take very seriously in how we essentially, at the end of the day, do what we do. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Josh Maxwell, our, again, maintenance recruiter. Josh is going to talk a little bit about some of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that we've done here and the progress we've made. And again, what to look for here and what to better understand is, where do we show up? How are we making an impact? And what's important to the airline right now, and what may be important for you to really better understand about PSA. So with that, Josh.
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Meistel. I am a maintenance recruiter here at PSA Airlines. I've been with PSA for coming up on 4 years. Part of this portion that I'm going to talk about is some of our diversity and inclusion, as I'm honored enough to be on our Diversity and Inclusion Council with PSA Airlines. With that program, I was able to join the program at the end of 2019. At that time, our program really was a nice idea, and we were kind of getting our footing, really seeing what was going on there. And in this past year, we brought on a diversity and inclusion director, and he has really encouraged us to even go farther. And we really started to make a really substantial impact with the program. It's not just checking the box; we're actually, helping to influence some initiatives and some programs, and really talking the talk and walking the walk that we're doing. So it's been incredible to be on that program right now that we have. In our program, we have people from all over our company in there, from all different walks. We try to encourage people from every one of our departments to come on board. That way we can hear everybody's viewpoint and learn how we can become better as a company within our diversity and inclusion. I believe on the next slide, we've got some stuff. So with our diversity and inclusion, I'm also privileged enough to be one of the leaders for the recruitment and talent management. We have 5 areas that we focus on, and that's one of them. We have a learning and education, policy enhancements, community advocacy, as well as expanded partnership and impact. Each of those 5 programs, they all have all of our diversity and inclusion members. They are all broken up into those 5 groups. So each of us has a task in with that to help better PSA, to help better our employees and our team members here with the different stuff that we pull out. So as far as like the recruiting and talent management, the team that I'm lucky enough to be on and to lead, what we're doing is we're focusing on how we can reach more schools, how we can better move our talent management to include a wider net, so to speak, of getting people, which is really awesome. We have several people in the program that for D&I that help make this possible. So it's not just a one department effort. On my team, I have pilots, I have flight attendants, and I have one of our travel coordinators on there, as well as a base coordinator that we all work together for that. So we definitely put a lot of time and energy into our D&I. So PSA does take all this very seriously. It's not just checking the box. We're doing what we say we're going to do. Some of the things on here, we do participate in our annual Pride events, which is absolutely awesome to see that, and that we really do care, and we show that in every way we can. One of the ones down there, really I connect to is our employee future stories. So we don't just talk about how we celebrate people, we want to hear people's stories here at PSA Airlines. And some of these stories are so awesome of our employees that are willing to go out there and make themselves vulnerable, so to speak, and talk about, you know, their experience and who they are. The gentleman down there, his story was amazing that we had featured for everybody in the company to see. So at every one of our bases and every one of our areas, we have screens and these stories come across. So you know, not only did I get to see it when I walk in the door, but I was able to also, you know, read his full story on our website, which again was amazing. Some of the other areas we do too is, you know, we diversify, you know, with our recruiting, ensuring that, you know, we're bringing in and we're including people of all different areas. It's not just one size fits all. We need everybody to make this team and make our airline work. And along the side over here, you know, our Inclusion Council is at the forefront of all of that. We really have started to make a very big impact most recently with our policies on uniforms and changing some of that. We're also looking at, you know, dress codes, hairstyles, tattoos to see with American Airlines, is that stuff that we can change or we can have some relaxation on, or allow team members to express themselves a little bit differently, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, is as long as we're getting the work done safely. So we are using some of that. And then on the next slide. So some of our hiring that we've got going on, I'm going to initially talk about some of the maintenance, and then I'm going to turn it over. So with our maintenance hiring, we do have a military transition program for mechanics, and that's where our military recruiter, he goes out and works with talent that's exiting the military that has the valuable skills that they've learned across all the fields, brings them in, and we work and get their testing paid for and get them brought on board. And we've had a lot of success with that program. In the coming year, we're going to be unveiling some more partnerships for maintenance to attract students across the board. As we know, the shortage of pilots and mechanics is there. So again, doing everything we can to find the very best people that want to come work for PSA and do what we need to do. The next one here, we recently did award $3,000 scholarships with Ngpa, so that was really awesome, and I hope some of the people on that got those are here today with us to see that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Christian Roper. He is our manager of pilot recruiting.
Awesome, thanks Josh, and good afternoon everyone. As mentioned earlier, my name is Christian Roper, and I am the manager of pilot recruiting here at PSA. I am fortunate enough to say that I've been with PSA for 4 years, and I started my journey here as a pilot recruiter for the cadet program. So I've really been able to see our company just kind of break down barriers and just really become industry leaders in the business that we're in. So I'm really looking forward to cover some of this information as it relates to our pilot hiring. And just kind of future objectives and outlooks that we have here for our company. So to get started, I want to take a quick look back at our recruiting activity through 2021. Obviously COVID brought many challenges and kind of a bit of a setback from where we were trending in our industry and headed for pilot hiring. So it's with much excitement that we resumed our pilot hiring during the winter of this year, with our first class being February 8th. And we welcomed 30 new pilot hires. So our year-to-date hires has actually reached a total of 629 pilots to PSA. So that's very remarkable considering the recovery stage that our organization and our industry has really endured this past year. And then just to add a little bit more to that, we've actually surpassed the number of pilot hires in 2019 and 2018. So the only other year where we've had more pilot hires in this year was 2017. So that's a very, very remarkable considering just the challenges that we've been faced with this past year due to COVID and just really a good outlook on what we have coming up into 2022. So, just looking ahead into some of those pilot hiring initiatives, we do expect 30 pilot hires per class, and we are projecting at least 440 pilot hires throughout July of 2022. One awesome program that we've introduced here at PSA this year as well is just direct entry captains. With the amount of attrition that we're seeing and increased hiring goals for mainline carriers, we launched this program back in August. And it's really given us the opportunity to bring on experienced pilots and giving them the opportunity to receive notable financial incentives and then also great career opportunities within the organization that Brian Staples will cover a little bit later in this presentation. So we plan to have this opportunity available throughout at least the spring of 2022. So for anyone that is on this call that will meet those minimum requirements, you can check that out on our website, and we definitely urge you to apply as soon as possible. The next piece of this that's really exciting is just the programs that we're reintroducing and that we're bringing back and that we're just starting to implement. As Josh and Christine mentioned earlier, we're making considerable changes to continue to diversify the talent that we attract and bring into PSA. So many of the programs that you're most likely familiar with are being reintroduced, such as the cadet program, and next year we're going to be bringing back the RTP program. So we do expect for that to return around early spring of 2022. And then we're also broadening our scope in our search outside of the US to bringing on E3 visas or sponsoring pilots that need that E3 visa. So we're definitely looking and tapping into different areas that we can really focus on to help with the pilot shortage and get great talent here to PSA. So one word that's most likely going to resonate with you as it relates to 2021 and that you probably heard a lot of as it relates to recruiting efforts at PSA is just sustainability. With the vast amount of changes we've seen in the past 2 years due to COVID, we've really been working to ensure that we have the appropriate levels of staffing to support and continue to be a strong carrier for American Airlines. So with that, we have 121 aircraft currently on company property. And as Brian mentioned earlier, we do operate more than 800 flights daily. So looking into 2022, we're going to continue to focus on growing our pilot group and just looking in other areas around how we can diversify that group as well. Other unique offerings that we have, and that's always been unique to PSA and our sister companies such as Piedmont and Envoy, is just the flow to American Airlines. So our pilots are fortunate enough to have their final interview of their 121 career at this regional level. So that's really exciting. And as we look into 2022 with our expected projections for flow, we will continue at 10 pilots per month to American Airlines. The last piece here that I wanted to touch on is just, diversity, equity and inclusion. So, this has been our primary focus for this discussion. And I really wanted to share the commitment that PSA has to increasing diversity at our organization. On November 22nd, we started the most diverse pilot class in PSA history. So that class consisted of 27 new hires, where 4 were identified as female, and nearly 60% identified as another ethnicity other than white, which is non-Hispanic or Latino. So, our overall diversity, equity, inclusion efforts have been eccentric this year. And we actually noticed 23% of our pilot hires this year of having a diverse background compared to only 11% back in 2019. So we're definitely breaking down barriers. We're definitely making the appropriate changes that we need to continue to be a leader in this industry, where we focus on making sure our company culture it encompasses of from all backgrounds. So we're really looking forward to just what 2022 is going to bring in our recruiting strategy and making sure we're getting top talent here to PSA. So as I know, this event was, primarily geared to just our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I understand that many that are attending this event live or who may be listening in later are really interested in the opportunity, that we have here for them to become a pilot at PSA. So given this, I really want to highlight some of our industry leading incentives and just, opportunities that we have here at our organization. With the first being in August, we announced that we were bringing back our pilot new hire bonus. So we now offer $15,000 for any pilot that joins PSA, and we even offer an experience bonus for pilots with qualifying 121 or 135 flight time, or a CL65 type rating of up to $22,500. So you'll also understand that in an effort to retain talent, and as a commitment to our process and offerings, we also provide a $150,000 pilot retention and bonus program for pilots to really get to American Airlines and just really live out their dream of getting involved in other areas at PSA outside of the cockpit and ultimately progressing to a first officer at American Airlines. So in short, just based on your experience level, this will allow our pilots to receive up to $67,500 in first year bonuses. So outside of our leading bonus packages, we remain competitive with our first year, first officer and captain hourly wages. So for first officers, we provide $51.55 per block hour. And for captains, we provide $85.82 per block hour. So it's definitely industry leading with the wages that we're able to provide. And ultimately, outside of all of these monetary incentives, we also offer incredible career growth opportunities that Brian, again, will discuss later, but you really have the opportunity to get involved in other departments as early as 12 months from your hire date. So we're really focusing on creating an environment where you're able to grow and develop and just do more outside of your normal role and duty as a pilot. Moving along to the cadet program, this is exciting because this is very near and dear to my heart. I've been a part of this program since its inception back in 2016, and it's really important to PSA to support the development and foster the relationships for the next generation of pilots. So, since the inception of our cadet program, and partnering with the educators in our industry, we've transitioned 140 pilots to PSA from our cadet program since 2016. So this program is very special because it offers flight students and the students in these programs across the country the opportunity to receive mentorship, coaching, and development opportunities. So one of our signature events that you're probably familiar with is our career takeoff event, where we host students at our facilities and we give them the opportunity to gain more in-depth information and knowledge on how we operate as an airline and key factors that they will play in their role to obtain or to really participate and contribute in the success of our organization. So outside of these monetary incentives for our program, we really look to just give students the opportunity to learn more about PSA and how they're going to contribute into our industry later. We do have some financial incentives with the program where we've in the past given our cadets the opportunity to receive up to $13,000 to really help alleviate that burden for their flight training in whichever respective program they're in across the country. So looking ahead and looking forward into 2022, we are going to continue to broaden our recruiting scope and really revising our cadet program to give students the opportunity outside of, universities, colleges, and flight schools that we've traditionally partnered with in the past, and just really looking to promote more, diversity here at PSA and just kind of casting a wider net to giving students the opportunities to participate in these programs. And as I finish up this afternoon, as you can see here, all PSA team members receive rewarding benefits and privileges. So our packages really include profit sharing, travel privileges, 401k, and we also offer medical benefits such as our health, dental, and vision plans, which really give you the opportunity to have a good quality of life and just benefits for you and your family. So with that, I hope to see all of you at one of our upcoming recruiting events in the future. And again, a huge thanks to Brian and NGPA for having us in the series. And I thank you all for attending, and I will pass it over to Brian.
Thanks, Christian. What I want to follow up on, and as Christine mentioned, I was at PSA beginning in about 2013 and flowed to American Airlines in January of 2019, and now I'm an Airbus first officer. I was offered the invitation to come back to PSA as Director of Flight Training just to infuse more of the American Airlines philosophy into flight training and really bridge the gap. Although, to be quite honest, there really wasn't that much of a gap to begin with. What I learned at PSA really flowed well into American Airlines. And when we say that we want to work very closely with them, we really do. Now, what is your path? Getting down to the nuts and bolts of what it is to become a PSA pilot. Once Christian and his team get to meet you, offer the interview, and you're hired, you'll join my team in Dayton, Ohio as a first officer candidate, where you'll spend about 4 weeks in ground school. And we use a variety of training methods, everything from electronic to in-person classroom instructions with instructors to our procedures trainers. You'll spend about 4 weeks there. Each one of these instructors that we have in Dayton and down in our various sim locations in Charlotte, Atlanta, Cincinnati, and St. Louis all have one goal in mind, and that is to make you a successful candidate, meaning to get you through your check ride and make sure that you're fully prepared for line operations at PSA. Dayton ground training is about 4 weeks. Sim training is about 21 days. You'll have 14 sessions. In a month's that time, you'll have a couple weeks off to study and get yourself prepared. In about 2 years, which comes really fast, as you get your 1,000 hours of 121 SIC time, you'll have the opportunity to upgrade. That's based on seniority, but generally in about 2.5 to 3 years, you'll find that opportunity, and you'll once again find yourself back in Dayton for more ground school, more simulator, and more OE with a line check airman. This will just polish you and refine your skills as a captain. Then as you progress, in my case, about just over 5 years, you will find yourself flowing to American Airlines. Fantastic opportunity, but that's just the start. I do want to mention, as Christian said, we do have direct entry captains. We find this is a really good opportunity to bring some experience into our aircraft, into our crews. Same footprint as a first officer. You'll be in Dayton for about 4 weeks, go right into sim, and then fly for PSA Airlines. Now, throughout all of our training, we really emphasize crew resource management. And one of the things that enticed me to come back to PSA and invest in this team is just how well this team works. And we emphasize that all the way through training. Crew resource management includes the flight attendants, the ramp agents who are on the ground service agents, the gate agents, ticket agents, everybody that we work with. American and PSA really emphasize the teamwork and the cooperation that it takes to run the airline. As we look at the next slide, being a first officer or even a direct entry captains is just really the beginning. So we want to highlight some of the other opportunities. As Christian mentioned, about 12 months in, you have the opportunity to pursue other options. Starting on the left-hand side, there line operations, first officer, captain, then line check airman. Line check airman is about a year after you upgrade to captain, where you will become a line check airman who conducts training in the aircraft for new hire first officers and captains, transferring your skills and experience onto them. One great opportunity that we have is pilot recruiting, joining with Christine and Christian's team and Josh's team to really embed our pilots and spread the message of PSA Airlines. Cadet Mentors are a fantastic opportunity to help the new aspiring aviators to grow in their skills. Flight operations management, project pilots. We have a lot of opportunities in aviation because it moves so fast to be assigned to a special project, whether it's de-icing procedures or new runway procedures or any industry initiative that we find. Chief pilot, great opportunity to mentor and develop new pilots as they come through various bases. You have one-on-one interactions with a lot of them. Their intent is to be very engaged with their pilot group. It's not a chief pilot's office that sit backs and watches. They really want to be engaged with their pilot groups, making sure they have the resources they need to do their job, that they feel supported, and that they have the support from the chief pilot's office. In my case, moving on to departmental leadership, I was offered the opportunity to become director of operations and really get my hands into the flight operations. It was a fantastic learning experience. And if you find yourself in one of these areas and want to just keep continuing your flight career, your aviation career, PSA offers a very broad variety of opportunities within the flight training or flight operations department. I also spent time as a technical pilot in our fleet management. As Bombardier, or now Mitsubishi, puts out new procedures, we develop those procedures for PSA flight operations. Lastly, something near and dear to my heart is the training department. As first officer, we offer you the opportunity to become a ground instructor. Again, integrating with the new hire classes that come after you, teaching them the same procedures that you learned, and engaging them in a one-on-one basis to really ensure that they have the skills to be successful in simulator and then onto the line. As you upgrade to captain, sim instructor becomes an opportunity, and that's conducting the training in the simulator. You will be surprised how much you can learn by teaching somebody else some of the same skills that you had learned not that long ago. And it really develops you as an aviator, as a professional, and gives you the opportunity to, again, extend that on to the next generation. Training department leadership, we have check airman supervisors, APDs, aircrew program designees, lots of different opportunities that we can present to any aviator who comes through our program who really wants to kind of see where they can go. We love to provide those opportunities. Coordinating with Christine's group, we offer leadership and development, a lot of resources just to improve your aviation career. So that's just a brief overview. What we'd like to do is give it back to Brian. And what I really want to understand is what questions you may have. I want to be able to answer everything that any questions you may have for us. So Brian.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. I and the entire team here. I appreciate you taking us through all that information regarding PSA. And again, of course, for joining us here in our Up in the Air webinar. We've got a bunch of questions that are coming in both in our Q&A box as well as the chat function here. I'm going to start hitting them one by one. So members of the PSA team, whoever might be best equipped to handle this question, please do jump in and take it. And for all of those of you who are still with us here in the webinar, feel free to use the Q&A box down on the bottom of your screen. Click that Q&A box. You can put in your question there. There's also a way to upvote questions. If you have the same question someone has already put there, you can give a thumbs up there. That'll help us get the most important questions to all of you to the top of the list. All right, so something we received in the chat box and also something that I wrote down coming into this. Often a common question, you hit on it a little bit, Christian, as you were talking about the E3 visas. I was wondering if you can go a little bit more into that and talk about some of the opportunities for pilots who do live internationally to join the PSA team to help fight the pilot shortage issue. And that question came from Asaf here. As to the pilot shortage, are you all planning to sponsor foreign pilots in the future through that visa program?
A great question. So yeah, we recently started sponsoring the E3 visas for Australian pilots. And it's a huge initiative that we have just to really face the shortage that we're faced with, looking forward and ahead into just recruiting efforts that we're going to have in 2022. I think the biggest piece of this question is just, are we going to offer this sponsorship for others outside of the E3 visa category? That is something that we are going to continue to explore and that we're looking at as an organization. However, right now we are just focusing on the E3 visa sponsorships, but just stay tuned in 2022 as we will have more released regarding just those different areas and sponsorships that we will be looking into.
Awesome. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate that. Christian, while we have you, you talked about the direct entry captain program, and you said you can go to the website, find out a little bit more. Can you give maybe just like a 30,000-foot overview on direct entry program requirements, maybe flight time minimums, or anything, a quick and dirty, if you will, about the direct entry captain program?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So what we're looking for is a total of 2,500 hours of total flight time, with 500 of that being multi-turbine time. And then you also need to have 1,000 hours of qualifying FAR 121 or 135 time as well. It's not required that you have a CL65 type rating. However, if you do, that does bring an additional financial incentive, which is a $7,500 bonus that you'll get for that type. So right now, those are the bare minimums that we require for our DCs entering our program.
Awesome, cool. You know what? The more and more that I do, that I've been going through these webinars and whatnot, it's very interesting to hear the changing times for getting in. Obviously, pre-pandemic, so many incredible entry points for those who are coming up through that. I'm not harping on the past, but darn, I wish that existed when I started back in 2006 coming into the regional airlines. But wow, such incredible programs, and it's amazing to see, and I'm happy for those who are coming out now for those abilities to really quickly progress to exactly where they want to be in the aviation career. So awesome to see things like that, though I will say I'm slightly jealous, not gonna lie. Jumping into the training category here, Brian, this might be best for you. I know a lot of carriers out there currently, they're having issues and tough time keeping up with training demand, having instructors ready to be able to take on the massive amounts of hiring that are happening, as well as keeping up with recurrent training. I was wondering if there's any plans in PSA to avoid any issues like this, or if maybe you're currently seeing any training slowdowns just to lack of instructors, and what the plan is to mitigate that going forward as you bring on a ton of new hires into PSA.
No, it's a great question. And to be honest with you, with our instructor cadre is very stable, and we don't have a lack of interest in being an instructor. The culture here is one that prefers to give back. We do see sim constraints. Christian and his team has provided us a large volume of first officers. So the only constraint that we really see is just simulator capacity. Now, what we do in the interim is we have several instructors who hold virtual events. So if you are delayed from ground instruction to simulator instruction, we hold weekly virtual refresher courses where you join with an instructor, with a group, most likely of your class, and we keep you engaged through the waiting period. But instructors, any shortage of instructors at PSA, we just haven't seen yet. We, in fact, have a very large waiting list who want to come into the department.
That's definitely a good thing. I know, just speaking from experience at the carrier that I'm with now, training has become a problem with no instructors and whatnot. So it's good to hear that that is not yet causing any bit of an issue at PSA, and good to hear that the want for current pilots to get into the training department is great. So thanks for sharing that with us, Brian.
Sure.
Okay, a question from Samuel Lee. Samuel asks, does PSA have any plans to acquire more airplanes, or are there plans for the parent at American to give more flying to PSA in the future?
So I can take that question. And, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our focus going into 2022 is just going to be continuing to meet the appropriate staffing levels that we need to efficiently operate here. However, in the past, PSA has really noticed a considerable amount of growth as it relates to aircraft. And I do think just with us being with American being our parent company, there's going to be, just more demand that, they're going to have, and just other areas that are going to open up potentially for us, and just really having the ability to meet their needs as it relates to their business model. So as of right now, there's no direct projection on if there's going to be any aircraft increase. However, like I said before, in the past, we have noticed a significant amount of aircraft increase, and we will just continue to see what American has in store and a plan for us.
Great, thank you, Christian. Josh, I think this is a question for you. Josh, Ryan Bott asked, are maintenance students who are currently working on their A&P licensure, are they allowed to apply for maintenance positions before they are fully certified?
Yes. So we encourage them to definitely apply within their 6-month window and talk to a recruiter, find out really where do they want to live, and get to the base, get an interview done, and see exactly what they'll be doing, and we can get them in a start date.
Awesome, that's good to know, Ryan. I hope you heard that answer. And also up on the screen, Ryan, if you had further questions about that, maintenance recruiting, you can shoot them an email at maintenanceinfo@psaairlines.com if you have further questions regarding the completion of your A&P training. Good luck in the rest of your training as well, Ryan. Let's see, next I have a question from Carlos. Carlos says, I'm an experienced 121 pilot, but I have not been flying for almost 23 months now. Would this time being away from 121 flying, would that still be an okay position to be in to join PSA?
Yes, I can take that question as well. Obviously, I know that COVID's brought a lot of challenges, and that's taken a lot of individuals away from the aircraft within the past couple of years. So that is not an immediate disqualifier for you to come to PSA as a direct entry captain. Actually, one of the qualifications that we do have is that your 121 or qualifying 121 experience or flight time is not within the preceding 5 years. So with you being, kind of stagnant for the past 2 years, that is not something that will disqualify you for being a direct entry captain here at the company.
And that's great to know, especially as a lot of people, as we talked about earlier, had to actually stop flying during the pandemic. One of our webinars was basically specific to finding things to do outside of flying aircraft, and what skills transitioned from an airline pilot to other jobs that were plentiful during the pandemic, jobs in certain big box retail, leadership positions in big box retail and whatnot. So yeah, I definitely know that there's a lot of pilots in that position. And Carlos, that's great news to hear. PSA is happy to talk to you, happy to bring you on board, direct entry captain. So definitely you are more than welcome to apply. Let's see here. This question comes from Nicole Tran. It says, I'm in Boston and working on my CFI II and would love to be a PSA cadet. The flight school I'd like to work at is not one of your partner schools. How can we work to have that school become one of the partner schools for the PSA cadet program?
And I can take that question as well. One of the items that I mentioned earlier throughout the presentation is just that PSA is really looking to kind of broaden our scope and really focus on getting more colleges, universities, and flight schools involved in our cadet program. So with that change, we've actually increased just the number of schools that we're going to be partnering with. And what COVID kind of taught us throughout this transition as well is, at any given moment in time, things can shift and change, and we have to be able to accommodate any type of situation and circumstance. So with that, in the past, our program, we've required individuals to instruct at one of our partner schools. However, we are being a little bit more flexible with the plans that students can have now when it comes down to instructing. So the fact that you are instructing at this school at Boston would not disqualify you to be a member of our cadet program. You would just need to pass our application and screening process. But that is definitely something that we're looking and working on to increase the amount of partners that we have in the industry.
Great. Thanks, Christian. We're putting you on the spot, Christian. A lot of questions down the pilot pipeline, and I'm not going to let you go just yet because there's a couple more. That's where most of our questions are coming in here right now. This question is from Corey Boyette. Corey said, I'm soon to start a Part 141 training program, and I'm seeing that most FO positions do require a bachelor's degree. As we do come into the large pilot shortage, what is the possibility of that bachelor's degree requirement changing?
That's another great question. Fortunately here at PSA, we do not require our pilots to have a 4-year degree. In fact, it's really encouraged that, you get your flight time that you need as quickly as possible. And with a lot of the institutions such as Liberty University offering online courses and the ability to go back to school and obtain a bachelor's degree or even an associate's degree, whatever it may be that works best for your situation and your scenario, we encourage that. So there's actually no minimum qualification though for a 4-year degree coming to PSA.
Perfect. Thanks, Christian. This question coming in from Marcelo Delgado. A couple questions to say, what's currently the most junior pilot base with PSA? And then is there a specific aircraft assigned to that base and any type of seat lock, if you will? I know with the CRJ 700, 900, I know that's a common type rating. Do you specifically put your pilots to one, either the 7 or 9, or can they cross-utilize across the 2 different fleet subtypes?
It's another great question. So there is no seat lock here, so you will be able to operate both the 7 and the 900. I think the second part to that question was just our most junior domiciles. So obviously we've been noticing a lot of attrition, a lot of movement. So that changes consistently around what we're seeing. But primarily for our DECs that are coming in, our more junior domiciles that they can be looking to be awarded outside of training is definitely going to be Philadelphia or DCA. And then if you're looking at it from a first officer perspective, I believe the last time I took a look at that and got the update for that, you're looking at pretty much DCA and Philly being the most junior domiciles on the first officer side as well.
Perfect. And one more follow-up from Marcelo. Average reserve time. So time sitting on reserve as a first officer, if you come in, is that months? Is it weeks? Is it years?
Yeah, no, that varies. For the first officer side, you're looking at months. It'll be a very short reserve time, and then you're looking at maybe a couple years on the captain side. So it just really matters around the amount of attrition and movement that we have and that we see, but that consistently changes for us.
Cool. Thank you, Christian. One more. This might be for you too, Christian. Understanding, this comes from Jeff Emmerich. He said, I understand that quality of life could be on the bad side for a direct entry captain as they're kind of entering junior to other first officers that are already on property. Possibilities of sitting reserve can be much higher for direct entry captains. Would there be, and is there any ideas that to possibly mitigate or entice someone to start as a direct entry captain with hopes that they won't be sitting reserve or won't be at the bottom of the barrel for a long period of time?
That's a really good question. And I think to that point, what we offer here at PSA outside of the opportunity to come here as a direct entry captain is the opportunity that Brian mentioned that we have to get involved in other areas outside of the cockpit. With the experience that you have, you can quickly become a line check airman or, a ground instructor, sim instructor, or any different part and area in our training department. So I do think that the ability to get involved in other departments would help mitigate some of that reserve time that they would be facing coming in as a direct entry captain. So.
Great. 2 more questions, and then representing that so we've almost been on for an hour here, we'll start to wrap it up from there. Samuel Ali does ask, is there any plans to increase the flow to American mainline to more than 10 a month?
As of right now, there hasn't been any discussions around the increase of flow. However, I'm sure that there's conversations that may be taking place and may be happening about it just with the amount of changes that we're seeing in the industry. But however, we are currently at 10, and the future plan around that is going to continue to be 10 just until further notice.
Perfect. And then one more question in terms of applying to PSA. If you had previously applied and you were denied due to not meeting our requirements, how can you go about reapplying to PSA? Do you have to wait? Is it just regular updates to your application? Do you have to resubmit? So what would be the process for starting an application, being denied due to hours, and then restarting once you do reach that hour requirement?
Yeah, typically we actually just kind of put that application on hold. And what you can do is our recruiters normally stay in touch with you just regarding your time building and where you're currently at with your hours. So I would love to be able to capture your name maybe at the end of this, and I can actually have my recruiting team follow up with you on the status of your application and where that's at. But typically, if application is selected to not move forward in our process due to our requirements, we typically just place that application on hold and just continue to stay in contact with that applicant until they reach those minimum hour requirements.
Awesome, perfect. And Christian, I will actually share the name of the person who asked that directly to you right now. It's coming to you right now, Christian, for your side. You should see a message pop up there. All righty. It's 2 minutes to the top of the hour now. I just want to say again, a very big thank you to the entire PSA team that is here and who has joined us. Thank you for addressing the questions. Thank you for taking us through a look into the world of PSA, what has been happening since the pandemic, what is happening now, and the excitement of bringing more and more people onto your team. For those of you who are still here watching with us on this Q&A page that's up on your screen, you can see a bunch of emails there for pilot and rotor transition recruiting, for cadet recruiting, maintenance recruiting, flight attendant recruiting. Feel free to take down those email addresses, send a message to the PSA team if you have something that was not covered or was not answered today. To kind of wrap it up, I have one more question, and this is kind of to the entire team. Maybe you all want to give something, a little piece of an answer here for. Obviously, the market for jobs within the airlines, whether that be maintenance, pilots, flight attendants, ground crew, and any of the multi offerings that airlines have to staff their company, there's going to be so many options. There are so many options. So what would you say would be the one reason either you chose PSA, why you continue to choose PSA, and the biggest encouragement you can have for those who are listening in today to make PSA their airline of choice? So if you want to go around and maybe give a little heartfelt moment about why you're at PSA, I think that would be a great way to finish it off.
I will start since this is back to Christine, since that is our department focuses on anything related to bringing talent into the organization. So we have a passion for making sure that our culture is representative of what is here, and to talk about why PSA. And so when we do talk about, and we get this question very frequently in our selection and interview process, what I would say is representative of those here at PSA, and then just my personal passion is that we do have a purpose to make a difference. And that isn't, at the end of the day, we can fly an airplane, we can fix an airplane, we can help our customers get to a destination on time. We're encouraging the why behind what we do. And when you look at joining an organization that does focus on that, you'll see that here, and you'll see a lot of pride around what that means to each and every individual. And secondly, I would say too, because my team does focus on some of the competitive advantages of joining, we always do a market analysis of what jobs are out there, what we pay, how are we to market. So we have, in the last 6 months, taken a look at, okay, we know there's inflation that's going on out there. We know that there's inflated wages and wages to keep up with the market. So PSA is an organization that does spend a lot of time looking at that and making sure that we take care of our team members based off of what we're seeing and experiencing out there. So we have gone through a number of exercises there and spent a lot of time making sure that we are competitive with the market. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Josh. Anything that you'd like to add? Brian, thank you.
Of course. No, I just wanted to say thank you all for having us here. It's been an honor to be able to speak and get some of the information out and talk about really what we're doing and what we're striving for, and that goes to everybody in the industry. So again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Josh. Any last thoughts or reasons why PSA is the place for you from Christian or Brian?
Yeah, I think two things. One, being a professional pilot, the training that I received at PSA has helped me through the transition to a major airline. It's very good training. So if you're wondering, is the training up to par? No, it's industry leading. Second, as we looked at, PSA's 5,000 employees, but in my experience, it just doesn't feel like that. The leadership is very engaged with the frontline workers. There's a lot of interaction that we have amongst ourselves. And I've created lifelong friends because of PSA. So even though it may be a large company operating 800 flights a day over a large portion of the U.S., it really doesn't feel like that. And you'll create the relationships. You'll get very good and effective training for your career. But more importantly, as Christine mentioned, we try to model the PSA way and to help our colleagues along, and you'll create some very good lifelong friendships out of this.
Awesome.
And then just to chime in for me, I think it's really the company culture here and being able to contribute to that and know that you're not just a number here, and your feedback is very well respected by our senior leaders and senior executive teams. So to really immerse yourself in that type of environment and culture, and know that you're kind of building that as we go, is very well received. And I really appreciate that about the company and being here. So I would say definitely being able to contribute to the company culture is my favorite thing about being here at PSA.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing that your insights into the world of PSA, the reasons why you're there, and the reasons why you think people should join the PSA team and the PSA family to be a part of the great things that you are doing to provide incredibly safe and wonderful transportation as part of the American Eagle brand. To everyone at PSA, Christine, Josh, Brian, Christian, and of course, Erica, thank you so much for being here today, giving your time to us, and continuing to support our mission to build, support, and unite the global LGBTQ aviation community here at NGPA. More Up in the Air webinars will be coming at you into the new year in 2022. We will be taking a hiatus from here on out through our events in Palm Springs in February. Speaking of which, NGPA will be back in person for our NGPA Industry Expo and Winter Warm-Up event. That's happening February 10th and 11th out in Palm Springs, California. That's the Industry Expo, followed immediately by our Winter Warm-Up events, which will continue on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. We hope you will join us there as we welcome all the airlines, all the flight schools, all the corporate aviation companies back for an in-person event. Again, that's February 10th through the 11th in Palm Springs, California. Registration's open now. You can head on out to our website at www.ngpa.org. Go to our events tab. Registration's open for the winter warm-up. Let me be very specific about that. For those of you who would like to come just to our Industry Expo 2-day event, registration for that will be opening on January 2nd. So the day after the new year, we're going to have lots of slots open to talk with some of the major airlines, as well as to meet many of the other carriers and aviation companies that'll be showing off their products and services. And of course, our keynote speakers and the entire NGPA team will be there as well. Admission price for the 2-day NGPA Industry Expo, only $99, folks. It is the cheapest job fair out there in the industry. We do that to ensure that we can bring all these companies direct to you and give you the opportunities and set you up for success as you move forward in your career in aviation. On behalf of the entire PSA team, on behalf of the entire NGPA leadership team, our board of directors, myself, and our now over 3,500 members, thank you so much for spending a part of your day with us here at NGPA's Up in the Air webinar. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Until next time, have a very happy holiday. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. From all of us at NGPA. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye now, and thank you.